So what I've done here is, and I'm kind of proud of this, I'm thinking, well, how can a person survive in a socialist society? And how does freeze-drying water, what's freeze-drying water have to do with that? And I sat down and I thought long and hard about it, and I come up with a system here. It's a society. What people that want the socialist lifestyle and involve themselves in the socialist lifestyle, what they need is they need not just the government, but they need somebody outside the government that they can turn to. And the only person that you can turn to outside the government is yourself. And so if enough people gather together in a society, then maybe they can survive. Now, this here is a bag of freeze-dried water, okay? And there is a way to rehydrate it. And how do you rehydrate a bag of freeze-dried water? Well, you pour water into it. And I'm thinking, now how could that help in a socialist society, a person that doesn't want to be prepared or isn't prepared, doesn't want to work or isn't able to work or something? What can we do to create a society of people that have methods and ways of doing things that other people that aren't a member of the society don't have? Okay, what advantage can we gain out of all this? So I come up and I've created a society, and right now I am the only member of the society. But I've come up with a document. Okay, it's I call it a certificate of authentication and authorization, and they're even numbered. Okay, they'll even be numbered, of the official society of the democratic socialist construct. And if this country ever goes socialist, that's what it'll be. Everybody says, well, democratic socialism is different than any other kind of socialism. They never implement it right, which is a fallacy. But if you're going to get together in a group, it's kind of like I don't know, a commune, but on a national scale. And if you have or are a member of the Society of the Democratic Socialist Construct, then you're going to have an advantage, okay? And here's, I'm going to read this verbatim to you, so it tells you what your advantages are, and it's going to give you a lot to think about here, okay? It starts out at the top. It says Certificate of Authentication and Authorization, and it says the official society of the Democratic Socialist Construct proudly presents this certificate of rights and authorization to, and it'll have your name printed here, okay, and it'll be duly signed and dated. And it says, to all herewith who find themselves in such amazing and fortunate company, being so honored and privileged as to freely associate with anyone in possession of this certificate of rights and authorization, greetings. Be it known to all such and all others that the above named individual or any individual in possession of this certificate or not are authorized by virtue of their possession of the attached labeled container, that would be this right here, or any container or no container, the right to embark on the prescribed course of action as set forth by this, the official society of the Democratic Socialist Construct document, in the event of a national declaration of socialism. Such rights described herein are to be superseded only by contrary local, state, and federal law, also known as big government, and or the objection of anyone living under and or subject to a socialist society. In fine, but not limited to this declaration of limited authority, and in the event of a national declaration of socialism, to replace the wondrous evils of free market capitalism, the rights of the herein named individual and or individuals is declared. To seek out and obtain with little, if any, personal effort or expense, any and all resources, both real and or imagined, that will fit into said container or not. Okay? Such persons as described herein shall also be granted under the direction and timetable of the all-powerful, ever-expanding, and self-enriching big government, the free services of anybody, including their time, talents, skills, ability, and resources, et al., that they deem necessary, desirable, or simply covet. This being by virtue of the declared right of every democratic socialist to seek and get everything for free as promised by all who pursue a socialist agenda, big thinkers who know everything, and big government, by coercion if necessary. And then, like I say, it'll be signed and dated, and it will be sent to you as a member of the society along with your socialist emergency food supply. Now, it also comes with a set of instructions, exactly what you do and how to do it, okay? So with that, I'm going to read these instructions, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do so that all you need in the event of want of food or housing or anything like that, as long as you have this bag of freeze-dried water, I'll show you how this works under a socialist society. Okay, so now here's how this is going to work. And I'll read this, and you'll get a copy of this. And it says at the top, procedures for initiating and surviving on the official society of the Super Socialist Construct Freeze-Dried Water Program. And that's what this is, okay? And I've given a lot of thought to this, and according to socialists everywhere, this really should work. Provided, it'll give you a weapon, or not, I shouldn't say weapon, it'll give you what you need to overcome the objections that will be put forth by people that are that have undue wealth, people that are lazy, people that don't want to work, because this allows you to work the program with very little work or effort on your own. So the first point in here says unplug and stow away your refrigerator. You're probably no longer going to need it. All right. This program is going to supply you with food and all the necessities of life, and you're not even going to need your refrigerator to keep it in, okay? Now, 2, it says rehydrate the contents of the bag, being careful not to spill any of the freeze-dried water inside. To do this, place enough water in the bag to fill it about half full. You have now rehydrated half the contents of the bag. Now I'm going to show you how to do that. You simply open up the bag, and again, it's filled with freeze-dried water. So you want to take a little bit of water. It doesn't have to be from a bottle. It can be rainwater. It can be gutter water. It doesn't matter. You just go ahead and you take that, and you fill the bag, I'd say, I don't know, about that full. That should be enough. Okay, and you seal it up, and then you have now rehydrated that much freeze-dried water. Okay, and you set that down right there for just a second. Okay, now then it says put your half-filled freeze-dried water storage bag and the associated certificate of authenticity and authorization into a much larger paper or cloth bag. That would be this one here. I just picked this up. This is my wife's Walmart cold storage bag. But anyhow, you take the water and you put it in there, okay? And you take the certificate also and put it in there, and you set it aside, okay? And then you're ready to go, okay? Prosperity is just around the corner. Okay, now you take your bag to the nearest rich neighbor or successful professional business owner and cut to the head of the line because you're special. And you're special because you have that certificate and you are a member of that society. And that is going to be especially recognized by socialists around the country, that you're a member of that society. Okay. Show the rich person your authorization, declaring you have not the time to let them read the fine print because you think it's irrelevant. And then you need to demand that they allow you to chill your rehydrated freeze-dried water in the bag in their $24,000 refrigerator. It's, a socialist society. You should be able to do that because what's theirs is yours, all right? And what's yours is theirs, even though you don't have anything. So, but it balances out. It's just like the freeze-dried water trays. One tray had more water. Okay, by the time everything's finished, everybody has the same amount of water, basically. And then at the end of that, nobody has any water. Okay, so number 4, if they ask why you don't use your own refrigerator, inform them it's because you don't have a big fancy refrigerator that you deserve, and given that the instructions along with your certificate of authenticity and authorization make it quite clear that this is the course of action you need to pursue. So they're reading your certificate of authenticity, which you can make a copy of it if they try to rip it up or something else like that. Just don't ever lose the original, but make copies of it, and that way they can see that you are an authorized member because your certificate is numbered. Okay? Tell them to stop minding their own business and let the government mind it for them. Remind them that being concerned about others taking and making use of their resources is not the socialist way. sharing is, even if you don't want to work in order to have something to share. Point out that if they object, they are being, and this is important because this is a big hammer. This is a hammer that is used by the mainstream media all the time. It's used by everybody that gets in front of a microphone and wants to drive an agenda. They use this tactic right here, so you need to practice it. And you need to know how to use it, and you need to know the terminology. Okay, so let me read this I've written down here. Point out that if they object, they are being selfish, racist, misogynist, transphobic, and anti-LGBTQ, and or any other insult you can use and accuse them of. Tell them if they do not willingly comply, you will report them to big government. And you know, one of the things that you can do if this is a business owner is you can threaten cancel culture. Okay, you can threaten to, just because you don't get your way, and you should get your way because you're a socialist and you deserve everything for free, you should get your way and those people should listen to you and do things exactly the way you want them to, or you are going to report them on the internet and over mainstream media so that everybody else who believes the way that you do will cause them to be shut down and canceled. It's a very, very powerful tool that you need to know how to use. Now, of course, it is unlikely to happen, and they will open up their home, refrigerator, kitchen, and professional services to you and everybody else, of course, until they leave town, because that is the mandatory socialist way. These people will do your bidding until they leave town and take their businesses and their money, and their money with them. Now, place the bag of water into their refrigerator. Now, if there's no room in the refrigerator, you need to try the freezer. There will probably be plenty of room in the freezer because it will most likely only be filled with ice cream. And, you know, not to the top, but there'll be enough room for you to put your bag in there. Now, if you can't find room in the freezer because of all the other water bags, and there might be a lot of others. So anyhow, that's okay. There's a way around that too. You simply set the water-filled bag on a counter or anywhere you can, and then go into the living room and take up residence until you can find room in the refrigerator or until the water is cold, after which you take your large bag into the kitchen. You take this bag, you get up, you put down the game, or you put down the bowl of candy or food or whatever else they got. Take your feet down off the chairs and you take your bag into the kitchen. And this is where really it starts to get interesting. What you do is you open the refrigerator and retrieve the water and whatever else you would like into the bag, and then help yourself to the contents of the cupboards. Now don't worry, because under a socialist economic system, you have rights, okay? If your neighbor objects, now he won't, if he's a true socialist, he won't object, inform him or her that it was you that prepared by acquiring the dehydrated water emergency program, this program we're talking about right now, okay? It was you that had the foresight to initiate the program, and it is you who has done all the work, standing in line, marching in their house, jockeying for the front spots, and it was you who had to take up residence in their living room, waiting for your rights and privileges to be met. So it is you that deserves the spoils of his or her kitchen. Okay, you did all the work. They didn't do nothing but stand there and object maybe, or say, okay, go ahead and do what you want. And then they went back and sat down and continued counting all their money and figuring out when they needed to buy the next truckload of food and supplies and everything else so that they could just pass it out. But of course, everybody knows that a rich person doesn't do anything to make their money. They sit back and they do absolutely nothing but enjoy the spoils of their wealth. And so it's okay if you do this. You're not hurting them. Okay? If they are true socialists, then they will see the error of their objection and allow you to take whatever you want. After all, they can buy more until their endless supply of money is gone. Now moving on, real quick. Once your bag is filled, try to get home without being robbed. Set the table and enjoy the spoils of socialism, and that's all there is to it. The question may arise, what happens if all the neighbors figure out that they too can take advantage of this plan and they no longer have a refrigerator nor any food in their cupboard? What then? Well, the answer is quite simple. Tell the neighbor how to acquire their own socialist emergency food storage plan after which they too can put it into immediate use with you at another rich person's house. And everybody knows that there's an endless supply of rich people that don't do anything to earn what they get. Now, and this is written on here, the answers to some questions that may come up. And it says, now, I understand that the endless perpetuating resources of the top 1% of mega rich people will, in reality, not be available for long. But don't worry, there are a lot of rich people and their finances appear to also be perpetual while they do nothing. And we all know that's true, because all we ever see is them enjoying life. All we ever see is their cars and their houses and their, their planes and their boats and whatever else that they have. And they certainly don't do anything to earn what they get. They don't, sling a shovel and they don't stand in a factory line or anything like that. So they don't deserve what they get. Okay, now in the unlikely event, just ask a socialist college student, because they know everything, but in the unlikely event you run out of rich people who have what you need, because they have all left town and taken their jobs and industries with them, you simply petition big government to get on the ball and force your neighbors by any means necessary to keep government finances solvent. The politicians rich and happy, and your neighbors' refrigerators cold and their kitchens stocked. Okay, that's what socialism does. Is the government says, give me everything and I'll make sure that you never want for anything. And so if you finish and come to the point where you can no longer go out and help the government by helping yourself, then you can turn to the government, because after all, they promised, and they should keep their promises. You assuredly will not be subject to such coercion because you own a certificate of authenticity and authorization. They can't touch you, supposedly. Okay, so when they go out and they take their weapons and they take their force and they take their coercion and they force the doctors and they force the lawyers and they force the farmers and they force the technicians and they force the person bagging the groceries and they force everybody else to be there for you so that you can have everything for free. That's including the college administrators and the contractors and the builders and yada, 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 and the list goes on and on and on. The government's supposed to force them to do exactly what they're supposed to do so that you, the one marching around with your sign saying, yeah, let's do socialism, can have everything for free. I mean, after all, that's the socialist way. Okay? Now, of course, there are a lot of other questions, but rest assured, there are answers. Just ask anybody who advocates for socialism, especially those brilliant politicians who will say and do anything to stay relevant and in power. Okay, you can ask college teachers and professors, also known as grown-up hippies, who will do and say anything to keep you going further and further into debt to stay in school, and especially leftist college students. You can trust them, even though almost every one of them will admit to a street reporter that they know little, if anything, about their talking points. And if they start chanting something cute and clueless, and then walk away self-assured that they have taken a stand to rid the world of the very system that has provided all that they have, while supporting a social system that will wipe out their college debt so they can party for years for free, feigning the pursuit of a worthless scholastic agenda. Now, did you catch that? Did you catch that? I'll read it again. While supporting a social system that will wipe out their college debt so they can party on for years for free, feigning the pursuit of a worthless scholastic agenda. That, in all of my thought processes, can be the only reason that a smart, young, intelligent individual would want to replace a free market capitalist system with socialism, because all they can see is the immediate result. And I'm, with this society, I'm trying to help provide a way for them to understand, what they're doing and how to survive. So anyhow, this way, we, living in a socialist paradise, will never have to worry. We'll just replace our parents, mom and dad, with ever-expanding government until the day everybody is either in big government or under big government's foot, at which time, according to socialists everywhere, we will be able to pursue prosperity right out of thin air. Okay? So no worries. what could possibly go wrong? Well, anyhow, with that, I'm Evan Rowell, and this is Critical Thinking. Now, if you've enjoyed this little, I guess you could call it a spoof on socialism, hit the notification bell and share it. Also, I want you to, as a professional photographer, I'd like you to go to my gallery and just take a look around. There's the address right there. Take a look around. Tell me what you think. Give me a challenge. Remember, though, I live in Utah, so don't challenge me to photograph something on the top of Mount Fuji. It ain't going to happen. But when you see the type of photography that I do, go ahead and give me a challenge. Talk to me about socialism. Give me some points. Maybe point out something that I'm not thinking about. Okay? Oh, and incidentally, if you want a copy, a signed copy of my certificate of authenticity and authorization, I'll provide a link for that below too. It won't be free, but it won't cost a fortune either. But it's kind of a novelty thing to have, and if you use it right, perhaps, maybe, under a socialist society, it just might really work. Who knows? But anyhow, go ahead and hit that notification bell. I think you might learn something, because I am a critical thinker. I don't think with my heart before I think with my head. And if I was to leave you with one gem right now, that is what you need to do. Think with your head, and then think with your heart. And then after you're finished thinking with your heart, think with your head again. Okay? Because if you don't do it that way, then you won't have a foundation upon which you can reassure yourself will grant the prosperity that you both need and desire. Have a good day.